Welcome back to another Void City Reviews. I am Dan, and with me as always,
Toast.
Yep, today we are going to finally be taking a look at the McFarlane Toys Deluxe Mandarin Spawn, as you can see right up in the front here. We already took a look at the other ones, and now we've got this guy. Anything you want to say about this guy before we get started, Toast?
I will have things to say.
He has some things to say, and unfortunately, I'm going to have to agree with some of them. That might tell you how this one's going to go.
Let's get started.
Let's get started.
So here he is out of the packaging.
Yeah.
All of the accessories there in the background, if
Probably.
not in his hands.
He's got 2 in his hands. He comes with 3 additional ones, which now I just made so you can't see them. 3 additional swords and or long-bladed weapons he's got there, along with his double staff blade in his hand and his nice shield that he's got there. Very similar to what comes with the original 1999 version of Mandarin Spawn. We will get to comparing those in a little bit, but let's get to those thoughts that we had. Toast had mentioned he had some things to say on this, so I think I will just let him get to those while they are still fresh in both of our heads.
I'm going to delay that for a minute because
All right.
I chose this is a Mandarin figure that I chose not to get. So I have the original. I love the original. This is how I think roughly the updated ones should have been painted from the beginning. I mean, he's sculpted to the nines.
I will agree with that.
And so the sculpt is off the charts, right?
It is. It's very nice.
And the paint is very well done. I do think that he's overall busy, especially the shield. I mean, I don't know. I think they went overboard. He's too busy, and I really don't like the head, especially.
I don't mind the head so much.
So this is a figure I chose not to get, and I'm going to repaint my modern Mandarin Spawn to look somewhat... Oh, I like the ropes on the back of the shield. That's a very nice touch.
Yeah, I like those too.
So I'm going to repaint mine a bit to look like this, but I think this is roughly how the modern ones should have been from the start.
It would have been nice, especially the thing that stands out the most to me is the feet. I mean, those are just way better with the painted nails, the painted armors, the gold, the red. The other ones just being all black are just kind of meh.
Yes.
And then even on his thighs, if you'll notice those little bands with the triangles on his thighs, they are not just a flat black. There is a gold kind of a dry brush on there. Very light, but at least it's something. So it's not making it too busy.
Yes.
With having it be all actually painted, but it is
I've seen
something.
Some customizers that painted every triangle, and I think that's too busy too.
It can look pretty cool, but it can also look like, what am I looking at now?
Right. So this is one I chose not to get. I thought this went in the right direction, but then went too far.
I think it looks pretty nice. It'll look good on the shelf with the other two, because I don't have the original like you do, but I do have the gold label and the other modern one, so it will look nice, I think, in the middle of those guys.
Let's talk for a minute about articulation.
Yes.
So let's take some of this off.
We mentioned we had a little bit of trouble with this guy when it came to setting him up here a minute ago.
You unboxed him and handed him to me.
I did. I figured you had more experience with the Mandarin Spawns in general, having had one for 20 years now.
You asked me to pose him for the opening shot, and I handed him back a few minutes later and said, I hate this toy.
You did.
I had problems with, if you can see it here, sort of the torso leans a bit to one side, and I was trying to offset that with the legs, but then I was trying to get the legs to be even on the floor. And so you've got both the double knee joint and the ankle joint. So you're a little bit fighting all of that. And then I had the hip pop out of the socket.
Yeah, his whole leg did definitely come right off.
And it's definitely a ball socket. It's not like standard McFarlane action figures.
Correct. It's not that little tab with the 2 itty bitty little tabs on it. It is like a straight up ball in a socket.
So that was
nice for putting it back together.
Yes.
It's not broken. It just, I think they anticipated this figure because of all of the armor and all the cloth and all the everything on there. It's not like we said in our original review, a lot of the articulation is lost a little bit because of just all the things he's wearing. So I
Yes.
think they anticipated people trying to overextend some of these joints and having them just pop off, so they put one on there that was a lot easier to reassemble.
Or maybe just because the waist is so thin that they just didn't have the room to fit in his standard articulation scheme. I'm not sure.
Possibly. I have seen him. He does have the little itty bitty ones though on like Robin or Joker, stuff like that.
But then, so I was messing with it some more, and he has a very loose head, which
It
surprised
does.
me.
It kind of leans forward a little bit.
But it's there it is. So it's just it's
Coming back to the torso a little bit, his torso I think is a little bit less leaning. It's this part right here. His waist piece is a
yeah.
little bit kind of crooked. I did try to mess with that, and I did sort of unglue it a little bit on the side, so I just had to re-glue that with some Gorilla Glue. That'll be really easy. It does look like it's just kind of stretched onto this, so I think with some hot water I might be able to reposition it a little bit and make him a little bit less tilted. But I don't necessarily mind that because it kind of gives him a little more of an action sort of movement when I do pose him.
It does, and I haven't looked at other toys, so I don't know how much of that is intentional and how
Right.
much is maybe just your copy.
Yeah, I haven't seen another one of these really, other than I think that one at GameStop, but I didn't really look too close at it.
I
'cause
wouldn't be
already had one.
surprised if it's intentionally skewed to one side and not just straight down.
Or it could be like the Wonder Woman I got in the Dark Father wave, which we will also get into at some point.
So it looks nice. It is trouble in hand.
It is, but I'm more of a shelf display type of guy, so this is going to go on the shelf in one pose with the other guys, and I'm not going to have to worry about playing with them too much or anything. And it even says right on the box, this is not a toy.
Not a toy.
Right there. This is not a toy. So that's fine with me.
Posable statue, I guess.
A little bit more than, well, about roughly the same as the original. A little bit more, a little bit less. I think the original's plastic is a little bit nicer, which makes it a little bit easier to pose, maybe.
It's firmer, but with certainly less articulation.
Yeah. That is one thing about the plastic we noticed on this one. It seems a little bit soft, which make for some pretty loose joints kind of all around.
Yeah, I used the word gummy at one point.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's just because of how thin he is or what, but he just feels a little bit kind of flexible, kind of pliable. Like the other ones don't feel as bendy as this guy does.
Yeah. We did go through the articulation on the previous version, and nothing has changed here.
Nothing at all, other than just some of the molds on some of his pieces. Other than that, he has the same articulation and pretty much the same limitations as the other ones as well, just due to his big armor pieces. Let's take a look at some of his accessories he comes with real quick. So here is a closer look at his shield, which I think looks pretty nice.
So this shield is exclusive to this version.
Correct. He only comes with the shield with the deluxe version. And here's the back of the shield, which has some ropes on there.
I really like those ropes. It's a very nice touch.
It is pretty cool.
I'm used to
red
Marvel Legends or even figure arts where it's just
clips,
a piece of plastic.
like a C,
Yes.
and it just clips onto the
Right.
wrist.
Yes.
Yeah, isn't that how the originals is?
It's even worse than Marvel Legends.
Oh, but yeah, I think that looks pretty nice. There's paint on there, good sculpt, looks pretty decent to me. I wish that gold was a bit dirtier, but that's something that could be fixed if I wanted it to be, so easy enough. Here is the other accessory he comes with that's like the original 1999. He's got his dual-sided staff blade with Spawn logos and the tips of it, gold handle, silver blades, kind of like Thanos's giant staff he had at the end of Endgame. Pretty cool. So we got that guy, and that is, I did not realize that, it actually comes apart.
Oh,
so
very
he
nice.
can have just one sword, which is pretty cool. So
Or
this other side
dual wheel
doesn't have the handle. So
what?
yeah, this side doesn't have the handle there. So he does have the one big long handle, but that way he can have just another big sword. And I just noticed there is a little bit of gold paint rub off on the silver part of the blade.
Up with that.
Come on, focus. There we go. See, there's a little bit of gold right there that rubbed off.
Like a mustard stain. And now these weapons came with the previous versions.
Correct. So these three came in combination with the other two figures. Just a regular gold sword. This other more elaborate dragon gold sword, which is a really cool sculpt in the handle there and in the blade.
Right.
Very cool. Same on both sides. There we go. And then his longer staff blade.
That bend is not intentional, right?
It is.
Oh.
It looks like it is. It's how it's molded in the package. So I think that's why it does have that bend in it. I don't know. I think you could straighten it out if you wanted to, but the way the package was molded, it seemed like it was
interesting
on purpose. Yeah. Well, maybe it's not on purpose. I might have been wrong about that. I think it's just his packaging was holding this thing snapped in there too tightly. But that is something that could be fixed very easily if you wanted that to be straight, because I'm sure that looking at this package, they are all like that, which is why I thought that was intentional. Just dip that in some hot water, just pull it straight, dip it right in some cold water, fixed.
There's also this mini poster.
Indeed. Mini poster by Todd McFarlane and Greg Capullo. So that's a pretty cool poster right there. Nice blood splatter on there, nice glowing eyes, a lot of good detail on there, good coloring. Kind of your old school Image Comics art. It's pretty cool.
It's a lot of shapes.
Well, you know, it's Spawn for you. A lot of things. I mean, there's either a lot of shapes on Spawn or there's a lot of garbage and shapes in the background.
Oh, yeah.
Or both.
True enough.
And a bunch of triangles. It's got to be a bunch of those, if not anything. You know, it's all good.
Yep.
So that's pretty nice.
It is a nice touch. It's a nice looking group.
It really is. Here is all 4 Mandarin Spawns. The original, all the way on the left, from 1999, from Toast's personal collection. And you've got the modern, regular one right there, the Deluxe, and the gold label in blue back here on the right. So there's all of them together. As you can see, the ones that are most similar are kind of the Deluxe and the original over there. But I still like the gold on the original a lot better and some of the detail work. You lost some of the articulation, but you made up for it a lot with the paint back in 99.
One thing I always liked was the asymmetrical shoulders. So you had this huge spike here, and the Deluxe still has different shaped masks on the shoulders. You just don't have the giant spike.
Right? Yeah, the regular and the gold label do have the giant spike.
But you can see here, so this one comes with the painted torso teeth that the regular and gold label do not, and the painted toes. Right. Feet in general, really.
Again, here's the feet from the original. All black, no paint. And they look so much nicer with those painted feet and the painted armor and nails.
So I'm painting white nails on my version of the regular modern.
That will look very nice. That will make it look a lot closer than to that original without having to go the route of getting the modern version, which has a few issues that we didn't run into with the regular, but you know.
So we were talking about the joints on the Deluxe, and you've been handling the gold label and regular Mandarin Spawns. How are they compared?
I have not had as much trouble with the original 2 as I have with the Deluxe just in these few moments. I don't know if it's because the original 2 just posed a lot easier right into how I wanted them, and I haven't touched them since. However, as I was mentioning earlier, they do feel a bit more sturdy, I guess I would say, as far as the plastic that they seem to be made out of. The Deluxe version just seems to be a little bit softer of a plastic, which makes his posability just seem a lot more gummy, as you said, or a lot more loose, like I put it, especially with the way his head just kind of flops a little bit. His legs are very sort of just pop right off. But
the gold label waist piece is straight down. The regular release is skewed slightly to one side, so I'd really have to see more to figure out if that's intentional or not.
Yeah, it's hard to tell if that's just... I do have him spun a little bit on gold label here, but it is... The gold label does have the straightest belt piece. The regular is a little bit tilted, but his legs are also a little bit tilted, so it's hard to tell. But I kind of like it, like I said, just because it makes them all kind of stand apart a little bit from each other, rather than it's one more thing to kind of differentiate what is essentially kind of the same figure 4 times, just changed a little bit here and there.
So the only thing that this one is missing from the original release is he should have 2 swords at the hip, and mine actually recently broke. I had a different toy fall off the wall on top of him.
That's really
so
terrible.
I haven't re-glued it, but there's a clip right on the side of his hip where 2 swords peg in, and I always like that piece.
That is pretty cool. I am sort of sad that the new one doesn't have any sort of swords on the hip. I'm just checking the packaging again, and I didn't miss anything.
No.
Nothing left in the box other than the poster that was behind the main plastic tray. So unfortunately, no extra swords for him other than the weapons that the other ones came with.
I'd be surprised if nobody's like doing a third-party print.
I'm sure you could find some 3D printed ones at some point to stick right on there. It'll happen, and if not, someone could make it happen pretty easily.
So, final thoughts. I somewhat already gave it by saying that I chose not to buy this figure. He is a GameStop exclusive. We believe the going rate is $40.
He's between 40 and 45, probably depending on where you get him, what area you get him, if you get him in the mail or at the store. But right around there, 40, 45.
At 30, I think I might have gotten it and tried to do a head swap with the regular version, because I do really like this head more so than this one.
It would work and it would go nicely.
I think 40 is a bit too much. And I think 40 is a bit too much before I handled him. And then I started handling him. And I'm like, ooh, this is not great. So
yeah.
This has the all three of the modern ones have the sculpt that I wanted. This one has the paint that I wanted, but not the joint sturdiness. So if you're just going to, and this is what I generally do, but if you're going to just stand them and pose them on a shelf, you should be happy. If you, even though the box says it's not a toy, but if you intend to treat it like a toy, you might not be happy.
Correct. You might end up with a lot of appendages not attached to torsos and whatnot.
So far, it's just been the right leg that's
Correct.
fallen off twice.
Yeah, it's just been that one leg. So maybe it's just a little bit loose on our particular copy. Who knows? That could just be the case. All in all, I'm fairly happy with him. I think I would have been happier at 30, given that he does have kind of repeat accessories on there. Yeah, I think for the 40, I would have liked him to also have had the swords that the original one had on the hip, especially if we're going to lose the big shoulder spike. I think just a little red hair sculpt on top, I think that's not enough to make up for some of those cool features. Although he does get a pretty cool looking armored letter M loincloth looking thing right there. So you do have to hide that letter M on every figure if you can. So that's pretty cool. And I do like the paint on him a lot as well. It's got very good paint and really cool sculpting. I do wish, same as Toast, that the joints had been a little sturdier and that just overall it felt a bit more sturdy in general. But it's going to end up in the cabinet with the other two. So as long as he stands up just like that and doesn't fall down, I'm fine with it.
Look very nice on a shelf.
They will look very nice on the shelf, especially if you're trying to finish your group of Mandarin Spawns like I was. So I think other than getting the original at some point, I am happy having this group. They will look very nice together.
Very cool.
Very cool. Well, thank you for joining us today for that review of the McFarlane Toys Deluxe Mandarin Spawn. I guess we wish it had gone a little bit better, but you know, you can't win them all. Leave your comments below if you've had this figure, if you've had any of the issues we ran into, let us know. We'd love to talk about it. Hit that notification bell, subscribe, all that fun stuff. So until next time, I am Dan,
Toast,
and we will see you then.